Welcome back. In this lesson, inshallah, we will continue learning the passive voice. So the passive voice in Arabic, we refer to it as المبني للمجهول. And المبني للمجهول comes in past form and in the present form. So let's say I'd like to use the verb كسر. So كسر, we're just breaking using this verb. It's easier. Let's say فتح as well. If I need to learn the past tense of these verbs, all I have to remember, I would say the past is the infinitive form. The present tense has the ya. So I would say يكسر and then يفتح. Both of these are considered active because I know who the subject is or who is the doer, الفاعل. المبني للمجهول, I do not have the subject like we learned earlier. So I would say ku, sira, and then I would say futiha. Similar to how we included the prefixes and suffixes in the active form, we would do the exact same thing in the present tense. So I would say you, sa, ru, you, f, ta, hu. So kusira, yuksaru, futiha, yuftahu. Do I know who the subject is? I still do not know. It's in the passive form. Now, when do I use these? Of course, anytime I'm talking about the past and anytime I'm talking about the present tense. But we learned that the past tense has the ta marbuta. If I am addressing a female, let me add this here. So I would say kusirat, and I would say futihat. I have to connect the T. And that's when I have a feminine object. Now, with the present tense, the indication of gender is in the you. That's masculine. So for me here, I have to make sure that I do change to the feminine form. So the you would become tu. So I would say tuksaru and tuftahu. Tuksaru, and then we have tuftahu. The tu and the tu refer to the feminine object that has no doer. So let me give you some examples. I will be using futiha, and I need a feminine noun, so I would use النافذة. النافذة is the window. Then I will use الباب is the door. These two examples always tell me that when I use the passive form, I have to keep the alif lam. The alif lam defines the object, so it gives him more value and it gives him more presence. Every time you add alif lam to the object, In the passive form, you give it more weight, more importance, and more attention. So we're not focused on the subject anymore. We're focused on the object, and we're saying that the action was done to it. So here I would say النافذة. 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 الباب. You can use any feminine word here or masculine. What I'd like you to remember that if you're using the past tense or the present tense in المبني للمجهول, you have to indicate the gender in the verb conjugation of the passive form. So in this case, I'm going to use النافذة here, and I would say the window was open. فتحت النافذة. فتحت النافذة. In the past, in the present tense, I would say تفتح النافذة. Now, فتح الباب. The door was open. فتح الباب. And then we would say يفتح الباب. فتح الباب. يفتح الباب. Pay attention to this one here. This is the feminine part at the end of the past tense. This is the feminine indication at the beginning of the present tense. فتح has nothing here, but once you put it in the present tense, it has the you for he. So you only have masculine and feminine in the passive form. Now, if I'm going to write examples, I have to indicate time, and I have to indicate the context. So let's say غدا ستفتح الأبواب. This would be used in the context of announcements. I'm not telling you who is going to open the doors, but tomorrow the doors will be open. غدا ستفتح الأبواب. الأبواب is non-human plural, so of course it will be referring to the feminine form in the verb here. So I have to use the to because I am talking about the doors. Now, if I change doors, and I would say students. I can use actually, let me use another verb with فتح. غدا سيفتح. Here we go. Oh, sorry about this. There we go. غدا سيفتح التسجيل. So التسجيل is a gerund, which is registration. So the gerund is masculine. I am indicating you, referring to registration, which is a gerund. If I have decided to use people here, and I would say الطلاب or الطالبات, I still use the singular feminine and the singular masculine in the passive form. So it doesn't matter if I have plural or singular as my object, the valued object, because now we're defining the object with alif lam. So what I'm going to say here, I would say the students will be received. Se, I'm using the future tense here. So all I'm doing is I'm using se. And I'm using the present tense, se, you, يستقبل. When I say the present tense, I'm still referring to the passive form. سيستقبل الطلاب. Here I'm saying ستستقبل الطالبات. So do you see here the you is masculine, the to is feminine. The masculine form refers to the plural masculine, and it doesn't matter. It's just the masculine part that you have to pay attention to, not the plural part. And then here, plural feminine. So what you have, you can say سيستقبل الطالب. You can even use الطالب as the student will be received, or الطالبة, the student will be received. ستستقبل. I made sure I use the future tense here, using س. Even if I have decided to take away the future, nothing is going to change. I would say يستقبل الطلاب, and I have to use time. I can say every day, every morning. So time expressions here would help me indicate when are the students received, or when will the students be received. If I have decided to talk about a context in the future tense, then all I have to do is add sa. If I have decided to speak about the present tense, because this is only present, I'm talking about passive again. Here, if I'm talking about the passive form in the present tense, all I have to do is indicate the masculine and the feminine. Now, I want to use the past tense. The past tense would be a different pronunciation to this verb. So I would just indicate it here. أستقبل. And I'm using Hamza here so you remember that it's U, but you have to use Dhamma. أستقبل. And then أستقبلت. And here it's passive, but in the past tense. So I hope this gives you some background information when it comes to the passive form or المبني للمجهول. If you have any questions, please place them below in the comments or address them in class. I'll see you inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.